Hi everybody, welcome to 2021. I know that there is so much going on in the world at the moment, but that has not affected our plans for the year ahead. We know that you have a voice and we want England to hear it. We have some incredible things coming for our young entrepreneurs of England, but make sure you have listed your business and are a recognized Book of Business member. And that's all I can say for now. I am so excited to finally be getting back into our We Are video series. Our next guest is someone who's taken the beauty subscription box world by storm. She has grown her business from the ground up and has a truly great understanding of what it takes to be a young entrepreneur and the hurdles that we may face. So without keeping you waiting any longer, please welcome Tia, the founder of Roccabox. Cool. Well, it's so great to finally meet you. I'm super excited.
And you as well.
Yeah, about being able to have a chat with you. I think let's start at your origin story, who you are, how you sort of your little journey that you went on, and how you came up with the idea of Roccabox.
Yeah. Well, sorry. My background was in PR. So I always worked in PR, started out in fashion, then ended up moving into like lingerie, then beauty. So I'd always sort of done different stuff. And then when I was working in-house at a beauty brand, and I was sort of like early 20s at the time. I remember being in a position on the brand's point of view where I was like, you know, we've got such a good product, you know, why doesn't everybody want to buy it? And why is it not selling out everywhere and things like that? And I felt that we were finding it quite difficult to get the message across of what the product was and things like that. And on the flip side, being a consumer, I was going into shops and you know, I'd go into a beauty counter and say, I want some new face cream. And then I'd walk out with a new Korean 10-step skin regime that I didn't need, that probably wasn't right for my skin type or anything like that. And so I was like, I'm being oversold stuff, and also I'm probably missing out on other stuff as well. So I thought, how can I create something that makes the brands get the exposure that they need and the brand's happy, but also as a consumer gets me to find out about new products for a reasonable price. And that's basically how Roccabox was born. So now every month we send out a different box, and it's £10 a month, and every month has 5 products inside, and it's got a mixture of skincare, makeup, accessories, hair care. It could be anything within beauty. And every now and then we'll work with, I don't know, a chocolate brand and throw in an extra treat or something. And the idea is that you discover new products and new brands, as well as being able to do it in a purse friendly way. Because £10 a month, the reason I came up with that price, I was just like, well, you know, what do you pay for Netflix, or what's an amount that you actually don't really care about spending every month, but you see so much value. So like every month you might pay £10 for the box, but it could be worth like £50, £60. I mean, there's been months where it's been over £100 of value and you've only paid £10 for it. So I just wanted to make it an all-round no-brainer, really.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And when you were working at the beauty brand that you were working with, did you sort of start Roccabox while you were there, or how did you completely just let go of your day job and go for it, or how did that?
Unfortunately for me, I've never been a saver or anything like that. I didn't have, you know, the financial backing in any way behind me to be able to leave one job and go to the other. So it's actually a bit of a funny story. So I had this job and I told my line manager that that's what I was doing, and that I was going to be setting up Roccabox, and she basically was like, just please never leave. I was like, okay, well, you know, she basically said, please don't leave until you like really have to. So I was like, okay, that's fine, it works for me. So I set up Roccabox evenings and weekends. I literally did not have a life at all. I was, from the minute I got home to the minute I went to bed, even in the mornings when I woke up before work, and then all weekend, that's all I was doing is Roccabox, because I didn't have any. Another thing about having savings was I didn't have other people that I could pay to do things like build the website and stuff like that. So I had to do absolutely everything myself. So it meant it was cheaper, but it just took a lot longer and stuff. Yeah. So I did it alongside, and then sadly the brand did find out that, as in the higher up people, they did find out that I was setting. I never kept it a secret or anything, but they found out that I was setting something up on the side, and they didn't really like it, so they ended up letting me go. But they had to pay me my month's notice when I wasn't working for them, so that just encouraged me to set it up quicker. So I think that I got let go at the end of January, and then I launched it on March the 1st, and then from there. No, 4 years ago.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No. So on the end of January 2016, I think 17. I can't remember. Yeah. Whatever it was, and on that January, in the March, I then launched it. And don't get me wrong, I didn't just then suddenly start making loads of money. I had to freelance. So luckily, the job that I'd done before, with it being PR, there was always freelance work around, or there was always things that I could do. So I always made sure that I worked 1 or 2 days on the side just to get the money in, because I needed to leave all the money that the business was making inside the business, which is, I mean, still true now. Like, I'd love to be able to just dig out, but you need it for everything in the business. But so I left, not intentionally. Yeah. I would always recommend to anybody, do it alongside. I mean, I don't think there's many people really that go, do you know, I'm going to quit my job and then I'm going to start something. A lot of people, it takes a really long time for people to be able to do that. And it was only because I was sort of like pushed in that direction that I ended up in that situation. Yeah. Because to be honest, if I didn't do that, I would have probably procrastinated a bit. Yeah. I probably wouldn't have launched at that time, but I also probably wouldn't have made it what it is now, or made it what it is so quickly, if I'd have been doing it alongside. So there's arguments for and against keeping your job, I think. Yeah,
I think at the moment, there's so many, I guess, advertisements out there about getting money quickly and about getting success really quickly. And I think what I'm trying to just make known to as many people and young people as I can is that if it comes quickly, it's going to go quickly too, in the bigger picture of things. Something that comes quickly, there are obviously a few exceptions, is usually not sustainable for the long run. So like you say, you got to really sacrifice a lot of things in order to see the results of it. And I mean, you've been doing this since 2016, and a lot of people sort of might give up after a year of trying, so I think it's admirable to you that you kept going, as well as working on your full-time job and then getting let go. I'm sure that might have been I've been let go of a job before, and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like this is a stab to the heart. You sort of feel, you do feel a little bit like vulnerable, if that is the right word. You just feel a bit odd. So I think it's great to note that it just doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't. There is no rule book for how quickly success or a business setting up.
There's actually no such thing as an overnight success. Yeah. I mean, a lot of big people that have been called an overnight success, they will say that that's not true. It's just that they went from being not heard of one day to being like very heard of the next. That's the definition of an overnight success. But a lot of people are 10 years in the making until I get to that point. Yeah. So that's another thing that people need to remember. No one just did something and then the next day that was it. Or the next year or month even. Yeah, I think, like I said, social media is sort of a breeding ground for those thoughts where people think, they give it a go maybe a couple months, and because it doesn't work, that's it. They're never trying again. And I've had a couple of people reach out to me on the platform saying, I tried this business. I think the one was a month, and she was doing a graphics business and she was really good at what she was doing. But because she didn't see the results, she thought,
And
oh gosh, no, that is a massive thing. One thing, never give up, and second of all, keep on persevering. But I think as well, you've just got to, I mean, when I say never give up, there's also a time to know that
enough is enough.
Yeah, when to give up, you know. There's a really fine line. You know, you've got to keep on going and give it everything that you have. And then, you know, when at that point you've tried everything, you've been doing it for long enough, and you've given it your all. At that point, if it's still not working, then you need to have a conversation. But it should never just be an easy decision to give up, and it shouldn't, like with anything, like you don't, if you decide you're going to run a marathon and then you start running down the road and get out of breath, you're not like, oh, do you know what, maybe I'm not.
Well,
exactly. I wish I could just wake up and run a marathon. That'd be my dream.
I'm the run up a hill and then be like, no, it's time to go back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So just off of that, what sort of hurdles have, I guess, you as an entrepreneur yourself, as well as Roccabox, what challenges have you had to overcome, and sort of how did you manage when things sort of felt like they were getting too much? How did you navigate those situations?
I mean, I feel like you have them every day when you're an entrepreneur. It's just sort of you've got to be so resilient, because you will always face challenges. And there's a huge thing where, I always say to myself, I've made so many mistakes, and a lot of them have been expensive mistakes. However, when that's happened, the first few times it was the end of the, after a while, you just get used to making those mistakes. And instead of them being mistakes, I call them lessons. I'm like, do you know what? That was just a lesson, and I'm going to learn from it and move on. It might have been a really expensive lesson, but I didn't go to university for 3 years, so I'll just put that into the fake university debt.
That's a good way of looking at it.
But you've always just got to, think about things positively and think about, do you know what? Okay, I really messed up there, or that really wasn't the right decision, but this is how I'm going to move forward from it. And just like being able to pivot. So, if I find the way that I was running my business and the way that my business plan was at the beginning versus what my business plan now is, two very different things. And so just being able to sort of recognize that. I mean, a big thing for me at the beginning was, bearing in mind we're a subscription, we change our product every month. So being able to forecast and get the right amount of stock every month was a real difficult thing to do. And if I was growing by X amount consistently, it would be a lot easier. Or if I was just same level, you would know. But how do I know now what I'm going to be doing this time next year? Because it's like a thing. So it's really difficult. But at the same, I do need to plan for that. And it's happened so many times where I've ordered too much stock, I've ordered not enough stock. It got to a point where I ordered too much stock, but I did it month in, month out for a good, I don't know, let's say 3-4 months. And suddenly, bearing in mind, I'm going to pay for that stock, and then it's all sat in my warehouse. So then I've got a cash flow problem, because I've ordered too much stock. It's all sat in the warehouse and it's not sold. I needed to figure out what I was going to do with that to be able to then recoup the cash. And I then just set up what we call a mystery box, which is the excess stock. And so now suddenly I don't have any excess stock. I've got a new business revenue stream, because people are buying the mystery box, the monthly box plus the mystery box. And so now suddenly, instead of my average spend being £10, it might be £15. So it's just sort of thinking, overcoming those challenges with a solution, and not seeing them as problems.
I was a person who would be like, if there was a problem, I'll be like, that's it, I'm on to, I was one of those people that when I was younger, if a problem came up, I would just leave it. It's a problem. I don't need to deal with it, and try and move on to the next problem. Obviously, over time, you learn that that's not the way to deal with things. Is the best way to look at it is not, like you said, not as a problem, but just as this ball of whatever it is, that there are so many routes in order to solve that problem at the end of the day, that it's not just a one-way street. There are so many different avenues that you can take. Like you said, you're now doing a mystery box to get rid of excess stock. I mean, there are a lot of people, when a problem arises, they don't realize that their brain is thinking one way, but they, speak to somebody else, or, flesh out your thoughts with a friend. And there are so many other options in order to sort of overcome or move around that problem. And I think that's really important to note, that it's not a one-way street. You got to think of all the different little routes that you can take.
But I agree that as well, and that's why networks like this one, and there's plenty of other like entrepreneurial networks. That's why I think they're so important. Being able to like lean on your peers. I think I might have mentioned it when we first started speaking, actually, where I was like, I find things like this so interesting, or I have done, and I think that if you are being an entrepreneur is so lonely, and a lot of the time people don't understand what you do going through, and it is hard. You get challenges all the time. But if you have a network of people, you didn't have to be a huge network. It could just be like one or two people that you can sort of lean on, or you can have as a sounding board. That will absolutely be like, it'll pay dividends, because just being able to say, sometimes, saying something out loud, that just helps, because you're like, oh, actually, I sound completely mental, or actually I've just come up with a solution. It could be anything. Yeah.
No, definitely. I think fleshing out your thoughts. My mom is like my go-to person when I need to flesh out my thoughts. Yeah. And I'll be like, just blah, 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 and I'll be like, okay, no, I'm fine now. I've got the answer.
Yeah. Back to your own question before they do manage to speak.
Yeah, definitely. And in regards to, being an entrepreneur, like you said, is a really lonely journey. And there are also certain stereotypes I feel that are automatically associated with an entrepreneur. Like they think, you're not going to make it at the end of the day.
Yeah. What's like, that's a nice idea.
Yeah. And you never actually know, like a lot of the people that have come up also on the platform, I did a couple of like little surveys and whatever. And one of the biggest things that they found with being an entrepreneur or small business was that they weren't taken seriously.
Yeah.
And, that in itself is such a struggle or hurdle to overcome, because a lot of people battle with rejection. We live in a world where there is instant gratification, a quick like on social media, a quick follow, or whatever it is. And people sort of expect that to be reflected in the real world.
I know. It's so frustrating. So when I first started, and actually even now, people will say to me, or they'll say to my sister, like, oh, how's Tia's little box thing going? Like, or I know, or they'll say, when I first started, I would tell them about it, and they're like, oh, so is that like a pyramid scheme? Is it like network marketing or something? I was like, no, it's fully mine. And they're like, yeah, but what's the bigger company? I'm like, no, it's just mine. It's literally just me. And people just still don't get it. I think it doesn't help as well, because we do work with brands. People just think that I work for them or whatever. It's totally different.
And how did you go about setting up the box? Like, how did you get brands involved?
So when I first started, I was very aware that I was essentially, bearing in mind as well, I need to get the products for a certain price to be able to make it work, because we might have a £20 product in there, but if I'm selling it for £10, then I need to have some sort of a deal. And we're essentially a marketing platform, so we market our, you're a brand and you've got a new launch, we'll market that to our audience. So the cost of that mostly comes out of the marketing budget, but we do still pay towards the products. But for that to be able to come out of their marketing budget, they needed to see the value. And so me just like approaching brands and being like, hey, I think I started with like 250 boxes in the first month. Jeez. We need 250 products. I knew that wouldn't be enough, because they'd be like, who are you? So I partnered with influencers. So I said, I'm going to be an influencer curated box. So they weren't huge influencers, but I knew that brands wanted to work with them and be endorsed by them. So I could go to the brands and say, we're working with this influencer. She's listed this product or your brand as one of her favorites, and she's going to do a social media post. This was before Instagram Live. So a social media post and a blog post or a YouTube video about it. And in return, we need the products and we want to work with you. And it was one of those things, not all brands were like, oh my God, yeah, we'll do it. It was, I had to cast my net quite wide, but eventually we got the products, and every month people were like, oh yeah, we want to work with that influencer. And that's how we started. We don't do that now, because now we've got our own databases. We've got however many thousand people on our social media channels, on our email databases. So the brands are interested in that. We are the influencer now, I suppose.
Yeah.
All of our own stuff.
Yeah, and sort of when a company came back and was like, no thanks, how did you deal with that sense of rejection at the end of the day? Did you take it personally, or were you just like?
Yeah, to be honest, I did take it personally.
Yeah.
Not every day, but just sometimes. And I mean, it's just like everybody. Sometimes you have days where you're going to feel a bit more sensitive, and sometimes you don't have days. But I just always needed to remember about what was my purpose and what was the goal of what I was trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And to be honest, most of the time when they said no, I would be like, right, okay, on to the next, because I knew that I needed to get this box completed with 5 products in it. I didn't have time to be upset, and if that would have ruined my day and disencouraged me, then I would have just been like, I wouldn't have got anywhere. You just have to keep going and be resilient. I mean, we've got a team now of people, and they do that. And it's, it'll be frustrating for them as well. But I mean, at least it's not their business, so they're not taking it completely. But we always just now, we say, okay, well, why, or why wouldn't you want to? And sort of the reasons will all vary. But then we'll just use that to make our offering better. Yeah. So rather than being like, oh, they don't want, no one says we don't want to work with you because you're rubbish or you don't like it. Yeah. It's because they'll say, well, we've already spent our budget for this quarter, so we just then make a note to go back to the next quarter. Yeah. Or they might say, it could be anything, or it might be like we're concentrating on this, and so we'll say, okay, well, we'll make that into an opportunity, and then we'll go back to them. Yeah. So again, all those obstacles, just turning them into opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. And in regards to, like I said, setting up your business and Roccabox, and also you and on your journey, what are things or misconceptions that I guess we as entrepreneurs have, but sort of when you're on your journey, you learn about them and you're like, oh my gosh, I was totally wrong about that. For instance, being an overnight success, that just, like we said, just doesn't happen. Have you sort of had any of those lessons where you're like, oh my gosh, I was completely wrong about that?
Oh, I mean, then a lot of them are things like I mentioned about forecasting. That's a nightmare. The realities of, I mean, it sounds really like doom and gloom, but the realities of paying VAT, corporation tax, all things like that, when you're just like, oh my God, they sound depressing, but also I think at the same time, anyone that's setting up a business needs to take that into account, because, I didn't really take all those things into account when I was under the VAT threshold at the beginning, so it was all fine, and corporation. It all sort of didn't really matter in the beginning. Yeah. Based my business based on those sort of numbers, and then suddenly when I do have to pay all those numbers, it means that it just eats into my margins, and it means we've got to work a lot harder to get the same reward as what we did before. So that was a bit of like a rubbish realization, really. Yeah. But I don't know. I think that I'm quite a I don't know. I'm a very different business owner to maybe a lot, because I don't believe in having an office and staff that work in an office, and they don't work set times either. All my staff, they work from home. They'll come and work from my house if we need to have a big meeting or something like that. And then we'll have, but they also work hours that suit them, and everyone has unlimited holidays. So if you want to, as long as everyone delivers, then I don't really mind. This is purely because I work unusual hours. I like to go to the gym at 9:30 in the morning. So I'll wake up, do a couple of hours of work, then I'll go to the gym at 9:30, and I'll be home by 10:30, 11. But then I don't have like a break for an hour's break for lunch and things like that. But if I was to then have an office and live like that, then I would be setting that example to other people and things like that. So I'm just like, you guys do how you work best, and I'll work how I work best. We've got a WhatsApp group where we all chat on it all day, every day, pretty much, and we're all really good friends. And that's just the way that I wanted to work. So I just thought I'd keep it like that.
I love it, because I'm not an office buddy at all. I hate the office environment. I think it can be incredibly toxic. I mean, some environments are really nice, but I did not flourish in a 9-to-5 role. It just was, it's not my personality, and I don't think it is a lot of people's personalities. I think we sort of just, from school to college or university to work, and a lot of people don't realize that what they're doing actually doesn't suit who they are as people. But
I remember working for, I've never been a morning person, and I remember being like, so I used to hate the gym, but it's because I can't get up in the morning, so I'm not going to go first thing. And then at night time, especially now in winter, it's it's dark by 4 o'clock. I don't want to go out to the gym at 6 o'clock or 5:30. After I finish work. So if I was ever going to get into that sort of routine, it needed to be at times that suited me. So that's just one one thing. And commuting, I'd rather driving into town, paying for parking, or getting public transport into town. It's just, I don't know, it's just all a bit of a nightmare. I don't like it.
I agree. I completely agree. I absolutely love it that your employees can sort of just, because I think they will deliver better that way. I'm not sure you would be the person to sort of testify to that. But I feel that if in the roles that I was in previously, if I was sort of allowed, not free time, but allowed to work in my own time, allowed to go to the gym when I needed to and wanted to, or, have my lunch break, not at a specific time, or, have someone clock watching me. I think, sometimes you sit at your desk twiddling your thumbs because your brain is fogged and you don't know what to do.
I know. I remember I used to be like, "Oh, who wants another coffee?" Or let's go out for lunch. I might have brought my lunch with me, but I go out for lunch. I need to get out of the office for half an hour.
Get some fresh air. So no, I think that's incredible, and hopefully majority of after this pandemic and all of that, a lot of businesses will start going that way, because they can see that people can. And your top, for a young person or a person who's just starting out in their business, what are your go-to top tips for someone who's starting out? What would you say, like your first things that come to mind to someone who's starting out?
So it really, just do it. That's my number one thing. Don't think about it, just do it. Always take, make sure that you, I was going to say take advice. They're basically things that we've covered until now. Make sure that you don't feel like you're on your own. Talk to other people as well, because you don't need to be on your own, and you'll make things a lot more difficult. And don't be scared to ask for other people's help with things. I called in so many favors when I first started, and sometimes that's what you've got to do. And it feels like a really big deal to ask people, but just ask them. And as well, just make sure that you always make sure you've got a plan. And rather than just go, I did say just do it, but rather than just going and not knowing where you're going, there's so many times where I've been on my journey and then I've forgotten where I'm going, and I revert back to my business plan and my vision, and then I know where I'm going again. So it's really good just keep yourself in check, because otherwise you'll end up not with a real business. It'll be more like of a lifestyle sort of thing.
Yeah. So just do it within reason, and then obviously have a plan that you're flexible on, and then also have or start building a network.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then the best of all, what is the future of Roccabox? Where is it heading? Do you have any sort of events? How can people get involved in or with Roccabox?
You can subscribe on our website, which is roccabox.co.uk. We have a monthly subscription. We've got a great Black Friday deal coming up. We've got an advent calendar. Literally everything that we do is done with the best that we can do. It's always the best value and love and care. And to be honest, what we're concentrating on for the next 12 months is working with amazing brands and brands to be in the box, but also brand partners. So we've got so much exciting stuff going on that I would definitely follow our channels and subscribe, or even it's a perfect gift for anybody. So
yeah,
we'll keep an eye on, I think, over the next 12 months, definitely.
Yeah. And do you do gift vouchers so somebody could get
we do gift vouchers, but you can also buy like one-off boxes. Like we put together a different box every month where you can buy it as a one-off as a gift, or you can buy like a 3-month subscription for somebody, and then it just gets delivered to them, which is like, I say, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And then also, how do you how would you stand out against your bigger competitors? For someone who's just starting out, there are going to be competitors out there. What is driving you to push through sort of everybody else that's around you?
I think that I'm quite a tough critic on what I'm doing, and I want to make sure that what we're doing as a business is better than anybody else.
Yeah.
So yes, you will always have that's another thing, actually. You'll always have competitors. And so there's so many times when people have said, oh, I was going to start this, but then I saw someone else is doing it.
Yeah.
So what? Like, competition's healthy.
Yeah.
We do look at what our competitors are doing. And all we do is we use that as inspiration to make ourselves better. So they might do something and I'll be like, well, yeah, that was good. But, if it was me, I would have done it this way. And we always just strive to be better. And that's all you can do is be the best version of yourself and be the best version of what you're offering. And then the rest will follow.
Because at the end of the day, there is no one like you.
Exactly.
And that one of the sort of recurring things that's come out when I've spoken to people is staying true to who you are. And that is the best way, because the online world, and that's where majority of people are, is so cluttered at the moment with so many different people doing different and amazing things. The best way to stand out and find your audience is to be completely true to, or find your brand personality, if that is to be true to who you are in order to sort of stand out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Completely agree with that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. Well, thank you so much, Tia.
Okay, thanks so much for having me. We'll catch up soon.
Yeah, definitely. Have a good afternoon.
And you, bye.
Yes, bye.